Sarah clutched her swollen belly as the harsh fluorescent lights of the remote gas station buzzed overhead like angry hornets, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement where her husband's sleek black Mercedes had just peeled away, leaving her stranded in the middle of nowhere with nothing but a half-empty water bottle and a heart shattered into a million pieces. She was 8 months pregnant, her body aching from the long drive they'd taken that day, a supposed romantic getaway to celebrate their anniversary. But now it all felt like a cruel joke orchestrated by the man she thought she knew. Mark, the self-made millionaire who'd swept her off her feet 3 years ago with promises of forever, had pulled over here under the pretense of needing gas, only to explode in a fit of rage over some trivial argument about her morning sickness ruining his plans. "You're too much drama," he'd snarled, his face twisted in disgust as he yanked her suitcase from the trunk and dumped it on the ground. "Figure it out yourself. I'm going to the resort alone." And just like that, he was gone, the engine roaring as he sped off toward the luxury paradise they'd booked together, leaving her in this god-forsaken spot on a desolate highway surrounded by endless fields of corn that whispered secrets in the wind. Tears streamed down her face, hot and unrelenting, but she wiped them away furiously, telling herself she had to be strong for the baby kicking insistently inside her, a tiny life that depended on her not falling apart. The gas station attendant, an older man with a weathered face and a name tag reading Joe, eyed her from behind the counter as she stumbled inside, her breaths coming in ragged gasps. "You alright, ma'am?" he asked, his voice gruff but kind, but Sarah just shook her head, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm fine," she lied, her voice cracking slightly as she asked for the bathroom key, desperate for a moment alone to collect herself. The mirror in the dingy restroom reflected a woman she barely recognized, puffy eyes, disheveled hair, and a belly that made every movement feel like wading through molasses. How had it come to this? Mark had been her knight in shining armor, the charming entrepreneur who'd wined and dined her in the city's finest restaurants, showering her with gifts and whispers of eternal love. They'd met at a charity gala where he was the star bidder, outbidding everyone for a priceless painting just to impress her, and from there, it was a whirlwind romancia, private jets to Paris, diamond rings that sparkled like stars, and a wedding on a private island that made headlines in the society pages. But cracks had started showing months into the pregnancy. His late nights at the office turned into excuses, his temper flared over the smallest things, like her craving pickles at midnight or her feet swelling so badly she couldn't wear heels to his business dinners. "You're not the woman I married," he'd snapped more than once, his eyes cold as he scrolled through his phone, probably texting one of his assistants who always seemed too eager to please. Sarah had ignored the red flags, chalking it up to stress from his multi-million-dollar deals, but now, abandoned like roadside trash, the truth hit her like a freight train. He never loved her, only the idea of her, and this baby was just an inconvenience to his playboy lifestyle. Emerging from the bathroom, she slumped onto a rickety bench outside, the night air cool against her feverish skin, and pulled out her phone. Dead, of course, because Mark had forgotten to pack the charger. Panic rose in her throat. The nearest town was 20 miles away, and with no money in her purse, Mark controlled all the finances. She was utterly helpless. Hours ticked by as she sat there, watching semis rumble past without stopping, her mind racing through scenarios. Hitchhiking was too dangerous with the baby, calling for help impossible without a phone, and walking. Her ankles screamed at the thought. Just when despair threatened to swallow her whole, a battered blue pickup truck pulled up to the pump, its engine coughing like an old smoker. Out stepped a man in overalls stained with grease, his toolbox clanking as he hopped down. A plumber, by the looks of the logo on his shirt that read "Fix It Fast Plumbing." He was rugged, with calloused hands and a kind smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes, nothing like Mark's polished perfection. As he filled his tank, he glanced her way, noticing the suitcase and her tear-streaked face. "Evening, miss. Everything okay?" he called out, his voice warm like a blanket on a cold night. Sarah straightened up, swallowing hard. "I'm fine," she said again, the words automatic now, but he tilted his head, studying her with genuine concern. "Then why are your eyes swollen from crying?" he asked gently, not pushing but not backing down either, and in that moment, something inside her broke. The dam she'd built to hold back the flood of emotions crumbled, and she burst into sobs, spilling the whole story to this stranger named Tom, the plumber who just happened to stop for gas on his way home from a late-night job. Tom listened without interrupting, his face softening with empathy as she described Mark's betrayal, the pregnancy, the abandonment. "That's no way to treat a lady, especially one carrying his child," he muttered, shaking his head. "Come on, let's get you somewhere safe." He offered her a ride to the nearest motel, no strings attached, and as they drove through the dark countryside, Tom shared bits of his own life via a divorced dad raising 2 kids alone after his wife left for a better life in the city. How plumbing paid the bills but fixing people's problems was what kept him going. Sarah felt a spark of hope for the first time that night. Here was a man who didn't have millions but had a heart of gold, and as they pulled into the motel parking lot, he insisted on paying for her room with his own cash, refusing her protests. "Pay it forward someday," he said with a wink, handing her his business card. "Call if you need anything, a leaky faucet or just someone to talk to." Exhausted, Sarah collapsed onto the stiff bed, her mind whirling with gratitude and grief, but sleep came eventually. Dreams haunted by Mark's laughing face at the resort, sipping champagne while she fought for survival. The next morning, reality crashed back. She needed a plan. Using the motel's phone, she called her sister in the city, who was horrified and promised to wire money for a bus ticket home, but it would take a day to arrive. In the meantime, Sarah's water heater in the room sputtered and died. No hot shower for her aching body. Remembering Tom's card, she dialed his number hesitantly, and to her surprise, he showed up within the hour, tools in hand. As he fixed the heater, they talked more about her dreams of being a teacher before Mark convinced her to quit, about Tom's passion for coaching Little League despite his busy schedule. There was an ease between them, a connection born from shared vulnerability, and when he finished, he offered to drive her to the bus station the next day. "No one should go through this alone," he said, his eyes meeting hers with a sincerity that made her heart flutter unexpectedly. But as the day wore on, complications arose. Her contractions started, faint but insistent, the stress of the abandonment triggering early labor signs. Panic set in. The baby couldn't come now, not here. Tom, sensing her distress, rushed her to the small local hospital, holding her hand through the check-in, his presence a steady anchor in the storm. The doctors confirmed Braxton Hicks' contractions, nothing serious yet, but advised rest and no travel. Stranded again, Sarah accepted Tom's offer to stay at his modest home nearby, a cozy farmhouse with toys scattered in the yard from his kids, who were with their grandparents for the weekend. His daughter Emily's room became hers. Pink walls and stuffed animals, a far cry from the opulent nursery Mark had designed but never cared about. Over homemade soup that evening, Tom opened up about his ex-wife's affair with a wealthy client, how it left him questioning his worth, but he'd rebuilt his life one pipe at a time. Sarah shared her fears of single motherhood, the shame of being discarded like yesterday's news. Their conversation flowed late into the night, laughter mixing with tears, and for the first time in months, Sarah felt seen, not as a trophy wife but as a person. As she drifted off to sleep, she wondered if this was fate's way of redirecting her path, away from Mark's gilded cage towards something real. But the next day brought a twist. News alerts on Tom's old TV showed Mark's face plastered across the screen. Arrested at the resort for fraud, his empire crumbling under investigations for embezzlement. Sarah's phone, now charged, blew up with messages from friends. Did you know? Of course she didn't. Mark had hidden it all, probably planning to leave her before the scandal broke. Relief washed over her, mingled with vindication, but also pity for the man who'd thrown away everything for greed. Tom, ever the rock, suggested she consult a lawyer, his cousin Antona, and together they navigated the first steps of her divorce, uncovering assets Mark had squirreled away. Days turned into a week as she waited for the all-clear to travel, bonding with Tom's kids when they returned, their innocent joy a balm for her soul. Emily, at 6, rubbed her belly and asked if the baby could play with her dolls, while 10-year-old Jake showed her his baseball card collection. Tom took her on gentle walks through the fields, sharing stories of his childhood on the farm, and Sarah found herself laughing freely, her swollen eyes from that first night a distant memory. Yet doubts crept in. Was she imposing? Could she really start over? One evening, as they watched the sunset from the porch, Tom confessed, "I didn't expect this when I stopped for gas, but meeting you, it's like fixing a leak I didn't know I had in my heart." Sarah blushed, her hand instinctively going to her belly, feeling the baby respond as if approving. The chapter of her life with Mark was closing, but a new one was unfolding, filled with promise and unexpected kindness. With the scandal erupting around Mark's arrest, Sarah's world shifted from abandonment to empowerment, as lawyers uncovered the depth of his deceit and not just the fraud but hidden affairs in a secret bank account meant to fund his escape without her or the baby. Tom stood by her side through it all, driving her to meetings in his trusty pickup, his quiet strength a contrast to Mark's flashy bravado that now seemed so hollow. The small-town hospital had become a second home for checkups, where nurses fussed over her like family, and Tom waited in the lobby with coffee and encouragement. "You're tougher than any pipe I've ever wrenched," he'd say with a grin, making her smile despite the chaos. As weeks passed, her sister insisting she stay put until the baby came. Safer here than in the city's friends. Sarah settled into a rhythm at Tom's farmhouse, helping with chores when she could, baking cookies for the kids who adored their Aunt Sarah. Emily drew pictures of the baby, taping them to the fridge, while Jake taught her card games, his shy pride evident when she praised his skills. Tom shared more about his past, the betrayal that left him gutted, vowing never to love again until fate intervened that fateful night at the gas station. "I was just a plumber fixing leaks," he mused one afternoon as they sorted laundry, "but you showed me hearts need mending too." Sarah felt a warmth bloom in her chest, not the infatuation she'd known with Mark, but something deeper, rooted in mutual respect and shared trials. Yet shadows lingered. Mark's lawyers bombarded her with calls, pleading for her to drop charges or testify in his favor, promising riches if she returned. "He says he was stressed, that he loves you," one smarmy attorney drawled over the phone, but Sarah hung up, her resolve steeling. Tom's cousin, the lawyer, helped file for divorce and custody, revealing Mark had tried to cut her out of his will months ago. Anticipating this split, the betrayal stung anew, but with Tom's encouragement, she fought back, securing a settlement that would ensure her and the baby's future. Nights brought intimacy, not physical, with her pregnancy, but emotional. They'd sit by the fire, Tom playing his old guitar softly, singing folk songs that soothed her worries. One evening, as contractions hinted again, false alarms keeping everyone on edge, Tom held her hand through the fear, whispering, "We've got this, you and me." The baby seemed to agree, settling at his voice. Community rallied around her too. The gas station attendant Joe stopped by with care packages, neighbors brought casseroles, word spreading of the pregnant lady saved by the plumber. It felt like a fairy tale, but real, grounded in sweat and sincerity rather than glamour. As her due date approached, Sarah reflected on her journey, from the glittering penthouse where Mark hosted parties, ignoring her nausea, to this humble home where love was in the details: a fixed faucet, a shared meal, a listening ear. Mark's trial loomed on TV, his once charming face haggard, begging for leniency, but Sarah turned it off, focusing on the nursery Tom had improvised in the spare room, painting walls a soft blue with stars. "For our little adventurer," he said, catching himself. "I mean, your little one." She smiled, touching his arm. "Ours, if you'll have us." The words hung in the air, a tentative bridge to a future neither expected. Labor came suddenly one stormy night, rain pounding the roof as pains gripped her. Tom bundled her into the truck, racing to the hospital through flooding roads, his calm voice guiding her breaths. "You're doing amazing," he repeated, squeezing her hand. Hours blurred in agony and anticipation, doctors and nurses a whirlwind, but Tom never left, wiping her brow, encouraging through each push. And then, cries filled the room. A healthy baby boy, tiny and perfect, placed on her chest as tears of joy flowed. "He's here," she whispered, overwhelmed, and Tom, eyes misty, leaned in. "Welcome to the world, little guy." Naming him Lucas, after Tom's late father, felt right, a nod to the man who'd become her savior. Mark learned of the birth from Joe, sending a pathetic letter of congratulations laced with please, but Sarah shredded it, her heart full with her new family. Discharge day brought sunshine, Tom wheeling her out with Lucas in arms, the kids waiting at home with balloons. Life blossomed. Sarah started online classes to finish her teaching degree. Tom expanded his plumbing business with her organizational help, their bond deepening into romance as months passed. Kisses stolen in the kitchen, family outings to the park, Lucas's first steps cheered by all. Mark's conviction Camilla guilty on all counts, his fortune seized, leaving him broke and alone in prison. Sarah watched the news with detached satisfaction. Karma delivered. Visiting day. Mark begged through glass, "I was wrong, come back," but she shook her head. "I'm fine now, really fine." Walking away, hand in Tom's, she knew happiness wasn't in wealth but in the unexpected heroes who fix what's broken. Years later, at Lucas's kindergarten graduation, Sarah and Tom exchanged vows in a simple ceremony. The plumber and the once abandoned wife proving love rebuilds stronger. Emily and Jake stood as siblings, the family complete. And as they danced under string lights, Sarah whispered, "Thank you for seeing my tears." Tom smiled. "Thank you for letting me wipe them away." Their story, born from betrayal, ended in triumph, a testament to resilience and the kindness of strangers who become everything.